Rory Jennings has just put out a new video, and it's the worst Manchester United striker ever. Big statement in that, and I assume he's got to be talking about Rasmus Højlund. If he's not, I'll be very surprised. But let's get straight into the video, see what Rory is talking about.
Inept. Like, listen to this. If there is one case study to prove that Manchester United do not know what they are doing, then it has to be.
I think there's going to be more than one reason, one sort of full reason. But let's keep going.
Let me take you back on a journey to the summer of 2022. That summer, Rasmus Højlund joined Atalanta for a mere £15 million. That season, he did okay. He scored 9 goals in Serie A. That season, he did okay.
9?
He scored 9 goals in 32 Serie A games. Now I know what you're thinking. That's not a bad return for a guy.
9's fine for 15 million.
That's not a bad return for a young striker. That's the kind of tally that suggests that patience is needed and progress could well come further down the line. But that is not how Manchester United saw it. Off the back of the 9 Serie A goals, Manchester United decided to drop £72 million on the player. Just
like 9 goals, 72 million. That's ridiculous. Look, 9 million's fine for a £15 million striker, and at Atalanta. But 72 million, I didn't realise he scored that little amount of goals before he signed for United. Or the season before anyway. He'd scored more goals before that.
1 year and 9 goals after the player cost £15 million, Manchester United have valued him at £72 million.
I don't think that's the unusual part of it. You see it with, there is a tax that United have to pay, that Chelsea have to pay, that City have to pay. There is a Premier League tax on when you want another player. It happens quite a lot. Sort of City signing Kusanov, I think he'd cost Lens a very small amount, and then he's been sold for 30 odd million. It can be seen in that sort of term. So it's not that unusual that price has gone up by so much, but he's not done enough to warrant that, really, at all.
One season, a season that wasn't particularly prolific, his value had gone up by 5 bonkers. And it gets worse when you think about what else happened that summer. It was the same summer that for £100 million, Harry Kane signed for Bayern Munich. So you have Højlund, this young,
was linked quite a lot of times.
That is totally unproven, going for 72 million, and simultaneously you have the world's best striker going for 100 million. Does anything?
Look, Kane going for 100 million compared to it makes it look worse. I do agree with what Rory said here, but doesn't mean Kane wanted to go to United. Kane may not have wanted to stay in England due to sort of, I don't know, slight loyalty to Spurs, and going away to a different country meant he was more guaranteed to win trophies under Bayern, although they didn't win the league that season.
Demonstrate quite how inept the Manchester United approach has been. I really don't think it does. Since Højlund has been at Manchester United, he has scored 12 goals. Since Harry Kane has been at Bayern Munich, he has scored 75 goals. How did this happen?
I think it's harsh to compare him to Kane because they're different stages of their career, but from what Rory's going at with the price points, you should be a lot closer than, 50 something goals difference. That's very poor. I know he's been injured and stuff, but it's not great, is it?
Bewildering. And Benny McCarthy has come out and spoken about this. Benny McCarthy, until recently, was Manchester United's forward coach, and he has just announced that Erik ten Hag wanted 3 strikers ahead of Rasmus Højlund. McCarthy has said that Erik ten Hag was desperate to sign none other than Harry Kane. He's also said that if Kane wasn't available, that Manchester United should pursue Kolo Muani. And if Kolo Muani wasn't available, then Victor Osimhen should be their top target. At no point
so that's
does Benny McCarthy
fourth
mention
at least.
Højlund, because Højlund has scored just 2 goals in the Premier League so far this season. 2 goals in the Premier League this season for the Manchester United centre-forward. I don't want to take the mick, but Omar Marmoush has scored more goals in the Premier League this season than Rasmus Højlund. And I swear he's only played about 2 hours of Premier League football. I'm sorry to interrupt this video, but it's getting to the stage where Rasmus Højlund is actually the personification of everything that is going wrong at Manchester United.
See, that's where I think it's harsh.
On the pitch that is an insight.
He is not the focal reason why they're doing terribly. He is a reason, Don't get me wrong, they don't score enough goals, United. But to say he's, the main guy, I think other players have got to take it who are more senior to take it, and also the board has to take on the criticism more than him. Because they're saying 5 years, he could be scoring them goals and it looks like a good signing. But at the time, which is now in the last season, it's not what United have needed. United have needed a goal scorer now, which is the 3 names that were just mentioned before, probably could have provided that.
Into the inept approach by the Manchester United hierarchy, but it's also the fact that they signed him. He is a microcosm, an insight into everything that is going wrong at the club. Like, this really did dawn on me the other day. I was sitting on the club watching the Tottenham versus Manchester United game, and I got into a debate with my dear friend Adam McCullough. We were going back and forth about Rasmus Højlund, and Adam generously was launching a defence in favour of Rasmus Højlund.
United fans will defend
in that
him.
Conversation that it really did dawn on
But
me
it's really
quite how out of sync
harsh.
Rasmus Højlund is with the culture of
It's
Manchester
really hard to
United.
sort of
Manchester
not
United
defend
will
your
never be
players,
the
is
club
it?
that they want to be if Rasmus Højlund is their spearhead. I remember having a similar feeling about Harry Maguire.
Could they get back to it with Højlund? I think they could, but he can't be doing this level of performances. So I think that is the difference. And he's going to mention Harry Maguire, but let's see what he has to say before I make my comment on
As
him.
the Manchester United captain. I remember saying at the time how out of his depth he was. And part of the reason that I was so venomously anti-Harry Maguire as the Manchester United captain, and I wasn't the only one. Let's remember, Harry Maguire's mother came out in defence of her son. But part of the reason why it didn't feel right that Maguire was the Manchester United captain wasn't only because of the player that Maguire is, it's because of what the Manchester United captain's armband represents. It's because of what the Manchester United captain's armband represents. The Manchester United captain's armband. It has to be one of the most
Said that a lot of times.
but a world-respected armband in the game, steeped in tradition.
I think that's a bit odd. I don't think it matters as much. Maguire's actually performed a lot better than the previous criticism he was getting out, and others around him have actually fallen off and he's improved. Look, 80 million was a lot for him. Problem, you can see him being the captain. I can see him being a bit of a leader, but yes, maybe not to the it's not going to be the heights that they had under Ferguson, because that was a ridiculous era for them. But it wouldn't be that surprising he gets them, challenging at least and winning some trophies. But am I right in that, or do you think I'm being too generous to Maguire and you agree with Rory? Let me know.
Worn by the very best, it is symbolic for icons. The blood, sweat and tears have gone into the Manchester
But who's
United
the icon
armband.
in the
It was
United?
simply too heavy for Harry Maguire
No
to
one.
wear. Brian Robson, Steve Bruce, Eric Cantona, Roy Keane, Wayne Rooney and Rio Ferdinand. They are all players that have worn the Manchester United armband, and quite frankly, Harry Maguire could not cope with the pressure and expectation that...
But would his name not be spoke about in that factor? Let's say he was the actual partner with Rio Ferdinand when they were winning titles. He would get spoken in that light. So, yes, it's not working out, but at the moment, I don't think United have got anyone better. The only other sort of captains is Bruno Fernandes, and he doesn't compare to any of them either. So I think it's a whole problem at United, not just a Maguire, a Højlund problem. There's so much issues with it, and that's why they're where they are. They deserve to be where they are currently in the Premier League table.
Comes with such a prize. Now, there is perfect symmetry between that conversation about the captain's armband and Harry Maguire and Rasmus Højlund leading the line, playing as the main goal scorer, the centre forward of Manchester United. It's simply too big for him. And on some level, it's cruel. It's cruel to ask a player so clearly lacking in the requisite talent to play the same role as George Best, as Danish Law.
But yes, so these players that you mentioned once again, all, brilliant players in their own right. With United at a completely different turning point in their career, turning point in their sort of situation, you are going to get players like this who aren't good enough. But that's where you should have had the sort of youth of Højlund and the expertise of someone better. So that's where the problem lies. The 72 million isn't his fault, is United's fault, but you shouldn't just rely on him to be the striker. And Xerxes doesn't help that either.
As Eric Cantona, as Andy Cole, as Teddy Sheringham, as Mark Hughes.
But you're talking about some of the best players, and that's what United
Rasmus
were.
Højlund in a position where he could ever be compared to Ruud van Nistelrooy. How can Rasmus Højlund
No one's
and Wayne
comparing
Rooney
him,
play
let's
in the
be
same
honest.
position for the same football club?
Just 'cause
They
it was the same
barely
club.
play the same sport. He is so out of his depth, and there is no way that Manchester United can get back to their former glory if Rasmus Højlund is their frontman. I've thought it for a while, but it was really stark, crystal clear in the performance at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium the other day. Rasmus Højlund was a hindrance to the furtherance of Manchester United. He was a problem to the team. He was inept.
I'll be honest, people have said this about Haaland, though, saying that if City aren't performing well, he's a hindrance. He's basically not on the pitch and City are playing with 10 men. So I think it is a bit harsh, because I think he will put in the shift and that, and it's not falling for him. And what United have signed him for, he's not up to that level yet. So it can be a bit harsh to call him a complete hindrance, because I think there are other factors of, is there the service for him, because there isn't.
That moment where he was caught offside from the free kick, what are you doing? And this isn't his fault specifically, but it's the...
One point I do have to say, if you're getting caught offside constantly and very in stupid scenarios like this free kick, I've got no defence of you. It's stupid and unacceptable from Premier League footballers. He's not the only one who does it. I've seen it for years over different types of players. But you shouldn't be getting caught offside like that.
fault of the centre forward. The centre forward of any football team will always be the focal point, and they will always therefore be at the epicentre when things go well, but also at the epicentre when things go badly.
Absolutely
and they
true.
are going so badly for Manchester United.
Yeah.
And the fact that they are going so badly, combined with the fact that Rasmus Højlund has scored 2 Premier League goals all season and puts in stinker after stinker, means that Rasmus Højlund himself is directly, partially at least, responsible for the malaise of Manchester United. Defenders of his will point to his age. They'll say he's only 22 years old. And on some level, that is true. But he's also a full international who has played 50 games for Manchester United. Yes, he's young, but he's also an experienced footballer. And there is no way that Rasmus Højlund is going to ever be good enough to play for Manchester United if they are to become the club that their fans desire.
The problem I have with this is form can turn around. And if you had a few more players who were in form for United, he could be bagging in goals. And you've seen it with, like, people have purple patches, some people have good form and bad form, sort of like Rashford for United. When he had that run of games, I think it was something like 12, 13 games, you were like, how many is he going to score today? Not if. And that's also dropped off. There's other big problems around the team. And if you're the striker and you get no service, you're not scoring goals. So 2 goals is not good enough at all. Forget the 72 million. A striker scoring 2 goals this season who's played enough games to not score 2 goals is unacceptable. People, when they get asked the question of how many goals would you score in the Premier League, people will say more than 2, and we're sort of, average footballers, like who maybe could go semi-pro, or you have some idiots who are useless at football and are sort of taking the mick. But 2 goals is just not acceptable for any striker in this league. I don't care if you're at Southampton at the bottom, or United, or City,
for
Liverpool.
Manchester United. As an institution, I don't believe that there is a greater footballing enterprise than Manchester United Football Club. They are resilient. The story of the football club, from the Busby Babes to Munich 1958, to a decade after that tragedy.
Oh, look at this! Refund! Score a refund with any goal on Just Eat.
Lifting the European Cup. I will always say that Sir Bobby Charlton is the greatest sportsman that this country has ever produced. Not footballer, sportsman. His contribution to Manchester United is incomparable to anything that anyone else has ever done. He was on the plane in 1950.
Look, I think this stuff is
scoring at Wembley as Manchester
this is just
United
sort of
win
like glazing
their
over
first
United,
ever
and you
European
can't
Cup.
be
He then
comparing
remained
them
at
to
the
what they
club
are
and
now
oversaw the
to them.
greatness that happened in the
You
Premier
can't
League
always
era.
be winning.
And because of my age,
Liverpool
because
didn't
of
win a
what I
Premier League
witnessed when I was young,
title
Manchester
for
United
30
will
odd
always be a
years.
club that demand excellence from everyone
it
around.
happens.
They demand the best from the top down. And
When you've had Ferguson win so many trophies, that's what we kind of expect. And I'm sure, I hope not, but when Pep goes, I'm expecting similar from City. there'll be, well, I know there'll be a drop-off. There's been a drop-off this season. I'm hoping Pep turns it around. You can't expect to keep winning stuff in the manner that Ferguson did at United and currently like what Pep's doing at City. They're not things that happen all the time. But being 15th or wherever they United are exactly is concerning because they should still be fighting for European places at a minimum. Now, they have won trophies, but the league shows how good you are overall, in my opinion.
They are effectively, along with Liverpool, the standard bearer of football in this country. And yet they have Rasmus Højlund up front. He is so slow. He doesn't seem to get moving. The time it takes him to change directions is weird. He's a profligate centre-forward, immobile. And when you watch him play, it feels like he's more interested in having a fight with the opposition centre-half than he is scoring goals. Like in that Tottenham game, in the first half, he had the fewest amount of touches and made the fewest amount of passes than anyone else on the entire football pitch.
See, that's a stat that I still think's crap. Because, let's be honest, if United are not getting the ball up to him, he's not going to have the touches, he's not going to have the passes. It's the same one they do with Haaland. It's when they're going wrong, they care. But let's say United won 3-0, he'd scored one of them, maybe got an assist. No one would care that he's got no touches, no passes. Because his job at the end of the day is pulling defenders out from positions and getting goals. He's not getting the goals, which is why he deserves a lot of this criticism. But I still think Rory's been a bit harsh
The
here.
goalkeepers on the football pitch. And I just don't get it. Because I do feel like he's getting away with it. Anthony
Goalies get past the ball a lot more now.
Possible angle. The worst ever Manchester United signing. The worst ever Premier League signing. And whilst that may or may not be true, I don't particularly care about Anthony. I just don't feel like the same energy is exercised with regard to Rasmus Højlund. And I honestly see him
No, that's
as
true.
comparable.
Anthony was treated a lot
Trying
worse.
something is the victory.
And both
The
have been
signing of
awful.
Højlund was, on some level, a noble and progressive experiment, but it is ultimately an experiment that has failed. Ruben Amorim has his hands tied behind his back, having Rasmus Højlund as his centre-forward. There is no amount of coaching. There are no amounts of tactical tweaks that can somehow make Rasmus Højlund a good enough player to lead the line for Manchester United. There is nothing that Ruben Amorim can do about that. So quite simply,
He
I
can't
think
'cause
that
he's not
Manchester
his
United
player
need to
and he
cut
hasn't been given
this
enough time.
experiment short.
If he
Accept that they got it wrong.
If he can't do anything in the summer with him, then fair enough. But at this moment, Amorim is not to blame. Like, he can be blamed for certain tactics and I think smaller things. But yes, having a striker not firing at all isn't his fault, especially when he's brought in. Pretty much, he's got one player. He signed one player that's his. You've got to wait for him. So I don't think you can blame Amorim, which Rory isn't doing. But he should still be looking to train him and turn him into a great striker. You got to remember, Gorkarez was at Coventry for a while, and now everyone's talking about signing him, saying, "Oh, he's a brilliant striker, scores so many goals." He did absolutely brilliant last year. It's just it can be a bit
and own it. Because
form.
until they do, if they persevere with Rasmus Højlund as their centre forward, they are never going to rediscover their former brilliance. That's it. They are my thoughts on Rasmus Højlund. I would love to hear what you have to say, so please do me a
with just my final points before I close up here, I agree with Rory on a lot of points where I don't think Højlund was good enough, and the joke was his name sounds like Haaland. Maybe that'll be enough to get him to be a good striker. The problem with United is that's 72 million. You can't just throw that away. And if you try and sell him, what club would pay over 40 million for him? I don't think there would be many out there. So that's a massive loss. So I don't think they can get rid of him. I think they need to bring in players around him. Another striker, for example, someone who brings in that experience can help him, I think, and then in the future he may be able to benefit. Anyways, that's all from me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is Rory right? Am I being a bit too defensive of him? Of a United player, funnily enough? Let me know in the comments. See you later.